This is Bedtime Stories, Grownup Edition, Queenpin, Part 11. When Q gets back to the estate, he is fit to be tied. He's temporarily banned from the hospital and determined to find out why Dr. Strange is trying to kill Angela. To distract himself, he's decided to get the house together for Angela's return home. But he's not at all surprised to find that his family has already done all of the heavy lifting. Almost all of the items that he's had moved into the estate for himself, his wife, and his children have been unpacked, sorted, and put away. All he needs to do is do an inventory to make sure that he hasn't forgotten anything and put the final touches on the master suite where he and Angela will be staying until she delivers the twins. But first, to blow off some steam, he's decided to take a late night run on the trails. After 2 miles of a hard run, he decides to turn around and head back to the house. And about halfway there, he sees a figure approaching. He slows down, and as the figure gets closer, he realizes it's Rennie. She runs right into his path and then pretends like it's a coincidence. She turns around and runs beside him and tries to engage him in conversation, but he quickly lets her know that this is a solo run. He says, but by all means, finish your run. It can be therapeutic and a great way to get your head on straight. Suddenly, like a white woman in a movie, she trips and falls on nothing. Hugh pulls up short, turns around, looks at her and says, Renee, I ain't got time for this. Writhing in faux pain on the ground, she says, Ow, I think I hurt my ankle. Can you carry me back to the house? And something like a lifesaver, Woody, appears out of thin air. All 6'6", 270 chocolate pounds of him. All muscle, big, black, and New York through and through. He scoops Rennie up in his arms and says, I got you, little mama. By the time he turns around, Q is almost a quarter of a mile away. He starts carrying Rennie back to the house and she says, Put me down, you damn fool. Woody says, Oh, you can walk now? Let me find out you only want to be saved by the man who ain't interested in you. Why not focus all that attention on a man who can handle your brand of crazy? Rennie said, If you don't put me down right now, I am going to scream. Woody said, I promised your brother that I would look out for you. I always keep my promises. So Woody kept carrying Rennie back to the house, and she kept her promise too. She started screaming like a damn fool, and not another soul came to her rescue. Early the next morning, Pastor Tanya and her husband, Pastor Stephen, arrived in Dallas, and they showed up at the hospital to visit Angela, MomBrenda, and Regina with Pastor Corey and Stephanie. Stephanie brought Angela's breakfast and Q's love and well wishes, and Pastor Tanya was ecstatic that they were all back home safe and that they were both expecting. After talking with the ladies, it was clear to Pastor Tanya that Stephanie was oddly perfectly fine, but Angela was clearly struggling with something. She gave her husband the eye, and he came up with a reason for him, Pastor Corey, and Stephanie to leave the two ladies alone. Then Pastor Tanya said, Angela, what are you afraid of? Angela didn't even bother trying to fool her friend. She just went ahead and confessed. She said, I'm saying and doing things that are just not me. And I think that the things that I've discovered about my family are the cause of it all. She didn't have to, but she swore Pastor Tanya to secrecy. Then she said, I feel like this last name is like a noose around my neck. I'm afraid of what it will require of me. And I'm afraid of what the power will do to Stephanie. Then, without providing too many details, she alluded to Q's family history and said, I'm afraid that all of that will be a thorn in my children's sides, and I won't be able to protect them from the enemies within. Pastor Tanya said, Well, what I don't understand is, why haven't you discussed this with your cousin, the psychiatrist, or my cousin, your pastor? Angela said, Because I don't know how my cousin deals with all of this, and I honestly don't want to offend her. And my pastor is also my brother in law, and he's married to the very sister that I'm concerned about. Pastor Tanya said, "Isn't your cousin married with children of her own?" Angela said, "Yes, she is." Pastor Tanya said, "Well, wouldn't it stand to reason that if she stayed on the legitimate side and made a life for herself and a career, helping people who deal with the kind of trauma that life creates, that she would have had to face some of those same fears herself?" And as for Pastor Corey, I think you know by now that he's like the Rock of Gibraltar. The information goes in, but the only time it comes out is when he's talking to God. He ain't telling nothing to nobody. I understand why you can't completely confide in me about your family, but know that this is the first time I've heard anything about it. Angela and Pastor Tanya joined the rest of the group visiting Mom Brenda and Regina, and then she returned to her room to get some rest. Shortly thereafter, Maribel showed up with her lunch. She checks Angela's vitals, discontinues all of her remaining medications, and then she says, "So I understand you had some visitors this morning that I haven't met yet." Angela said, "Yes, some friends that I've had since childhood. They're all pastors, and they happen to be related to Stephanie's husband, Corey." Maribel asked, "Did you tell them about the family?" Angela said, "Well, I did confide in Pastor Tanya." Maribel said, "Oh, I understand, but I want to caution you. No one should know that you were in Puerto Rico hiding out, or that you're a member of the Lopez family. You're a public figure, Angela. You're running a multi-million-dollar company, and you're the face of that brand. Not to mention, law enforcement will have questions for you soon. There are a lot of dead men out there and no bodies. As a general rule, most people don't even know that Manny Lopez is my father." Angela was surprised to hear that. She said, "Are you ashamed to be a Lopez?" Maribel said, "Of course not, girl. But my father went through great lengths to ensure that each of his children and every member of this family has the gift of anonymity so that we could all decide for ourselves what kind of life we want to live, so that we all can chart our own course. But I still keep my circle small. And part of the reason why I'm single is because it keeps me and the family safe. I investigate every man that I even remotely consider dating. And typically, I turn down anybody who even thinks about pursuing me first. My standards are high, my patience is short, and my safety is paramount. Plus, once my father even gets wind of a potential suitor, he either scares or pays them off." Angela and Maribel just laugh hysterically. Then Angela says, "Well, Donovan is not going to go away that easily." Maribel says, "I can tell, and I don't know if I want him to. But I can also tell that he likes to play games and he's not mentally stable." Angela says, "Wait a minute now. I love my brother in law, and I do not discuss his private medical information. But you're not too far off, girl." At that moment, Donovan just walks in without even knocking, and the two women freeze. Donovan says, "Let me find out y'all in here talking about me." "Mighty Belle, you got me on your mind, huh?" Then he licked his lips seductively and adjusted his manhood. Maribel looked at him and said, "Actually, we were. I was just telling Angela that I wonder when's the last time you had an orgasm that you didn't give yourself." Angela laughed hysterically, and Donovan said, "Why? Why you want to know? You gonna help me with that?" Maribel just said, and Donovan said, "Well, if you give me your phone number, I'll call you and we can make arrangements." Maribel looked at Angela and said, "See what I tell you? Games." Then she looked at Donovan and said, "Is that all you want to do? Talk about it? I thought you were a man of action, Donovan." Donovan said, "Oh, I could show you better than I could tell you, girl." Maribel said, "Nah, you have pharmaceuticals in your system. You'd have to get off those before you could show me anything. I don't put anything unnatural in my body. I only eat clean." Donovan, completely knocked off his square, said, "Well, I'm a problem unmedicated." And Maribel replied, "I'd never take anything from you and not give you something better to replace it." Donovan, honestly intrigued about getting off of the medication, said, "Well, I've been on your website, and it seems to me like you actually know what you're talking about. Can we do lunch sometime so I could pick your brain, though?" Maribel, shocked that Donovan had actually been doing his research, said, "I need to do a battery of tests on Angela. And if all is well, she'll be able to go home tomorrow. So I'm going to need to get the equipment delivered to her house. That means the earliest that I can meet you for lunch is Wednesday." Donovan said, "Bet, let's do it." Maribel said, "Okay. Angela, I'm going to go put those test orders in." Donovan said, "Wait, what time? Where?" Maribel said, "My estate at Siesta." Then she headed to the door, and Donovan said, "Wait, what's the address? What's your phone number? What is Siesta?" Maribel said, "If you're serious, ask your mother." He turned to Angela and said, "Help me out, sis." Angela said, "Ask the Queen Mother." Donovan grabbed his phone and called his mother. The Queen Mother said, "Donovan, don't bark up this tree. This is not the woman you play with." Donovan said, "Medea, I'm not playing. I'm serious." She said, "You just ended things with Veronica. For real this time. Please don't use Maribel as a rebound. Maribel is the kind of woman that you marry, you take care of, and then you watch her flourish. The kind of woman that you only pursue if you're willing to protect her with your life and be the kind of man that she can trust with hers. If you're not ready," Donovan said, "Medea, listen to me. Veronica is my past. I'm ready to build a future for myself and my children. Maribel won't play second fiddle to your baby mama. She'll never have to. From the moment I laid eyes on her again, I knew." The Queen Mother got quiet, and then she said, "Son, I can't protect you from her father. I can't stop him from protecting his daughter any more than I could stop Q from protecting Anya when he was 16 years old. And Veronica is going to want to double back as soon as she sees that you are pursuing another woman." Donovan said, "I got it, Ma. Give me the address. And what the hell is Siesta?" When he hung up, Angela saw the most serious side of Donovan she'd ever seen. I'm not going out tonight. We can hit the sofa, cuddle up, satellite surf. Oh, baby, whatever, let me accommodate you. Is there anything you like for me to change?